from the thesis charger concerned by the offensive under the Jesus Kill case, Austin, Texas. Defining the rights of Michael Allen Kurtz versus the United States of America and the individual statehood or statehoods responsible for assets in probate, withholding, and knowledge of the asset as deemed by his person as to the ability to understand and ascertain based on his ability to maintain and perform employment by the United States military during the stay in the United States Air National Guard and Air Force Reserves from the month of September 1986 through September 1996. See Project Monarch statement as an attachment to this letter. When a body of an offense contains itself with the means of no departure from the very aggression by adjudication as for any offense, implied or not, it will not give itself any other mode of transgression but that which locks itself in a position of acceptance to be adjudicated by all reasons applicable to concerns for their own implied or actual aggressions in society when choosing to be subjected to such wit. When a body of such nature as described that asks for the victim implied or not of the said body of the offense, yet gives the offended no avenue to court such a venue of such redemption when it is offered only by the offended to allow further transgressions prior to and during the willful negotiation of the clarification and implied adjudication of the offense implied or not implied. When cause is shown with irrefutable evidence as to the sanctity of the preservation of the base of the intent of the Constitution of the United States, each citizen has the inherent right to protect the sovereignty of the pursuit of life and liberty by the means as stated by the Constitution. If there is an action debasing the intent of the Constitution, the governing bodies of the people of the United States must impose an action to ensure the rights of the citizens of the United States are exercised by every effort afforded constitutional law and the decrees of the several states of the Union of the United States. Any exercise to thwart the individual rights or capital effort by the economic rules and regulatory aspects of the provisions under statehood and the agreements of the shared legislative amendment to ensure prosperity by legal pursuant effort of a capital interest is not warranted by any means that untouchably ensures the protecting of the Constitution and the security of the United States. With just cause to thwart the available effort of any sound mind of a person is impeded to promote an effort to cause harm to citizens of the United States by putting such citizens in harm's way under civil or military law is an act of treason by the means of controlling by implied supposition when the attainment of procurement exercises are found in the personal possession of the imposing citizens by procurement exercises are found in the personal possession of the imposing citizens by means of personal gain not achieved by legal form of legislative payment when the controlling effort by the rightful effort of the state showing means to protect the constitutional laws of the United States by means of provisions under the statutes of the United States Treasury and the Commerce Department legislation, a term deemed as a treasonous act is deemed in progress. Statistical intent by action in legislation can will to be utilized to deem as such action as to the probate acquisition of citizens deemed indigent or the means as to be found unfound to procure to a level of self-reliance by the Surgeon General's office will constitute a reason to believe the intent is to subvert the constitutional rights of the citizens. The probate effort is being imposed upon. Any action to impose an indigent convenience to any member of the United States as to procure the rightful ownership of personal effects for any effort as to not afford a judicial concern by one's own right to preserve one's own right to maintain the assets or concern sought by the governing body to afford a means to protect by showing a legitimate threat to the sovereignty and the direct threat to the jurisdiction of the United States, then a means for the constitutional rights of the implied or legitimate subject of such an effort by eminent domain of the assets of the citizen in question cannot be justified. Legislative action, whether found to be of sound intent or by the writer or proposing effort, shall be rescinded to the performing action deemed an effort to thwart by any means of subversion or the legitimate effort to gain a protectionist means or effort by any means imposed by any ruling effort at any level of statute in a statehood or United States governing agencies and a legislative governing body and regulatory entity. Assets of the actions as pertaining to the effort that prohibits the rightful exercising of laws of commerce and efforts under all regulatory means as stated in the Library of Congress shall negate all legislative efforts to withhold by means of reapplication to the beholder of the citizen till the same regulatory prohibitions that all regulatory efforts by United States law can be equally admired by the reallocating citizen of any erroneous or effort to deceive by illegal or unjustifiable procurement by any government agency or civilian effort without due process of state and civil law adhered to by the constitutional rights of any individual under the laws and provisions of the Treasury and Commerce regulatory decrees of the United States, and all assets must be returned in their entirety by the individual citizen and governmental body or agency, not limited to the assets procured by intellectual property and reinvestment of monetary assets and all other property rights and all expansive allocations by which means were found through the procurement of intellectual property, monetary and all other property rights, and assets by deception or misguided allocation under pretenses found unwarranted to secure the sanctity of the United States and any statehood there within the Constitution of the several states of the United States in any means as found by deception and misguided effort to withhold by any civil nature without due process based on the ability of the individual to understand in any part any adjudicating procedure if at any time found able to understand without any reasonable doubt, and the right to have the knowledge of any procedure to withhold property and or knowledge of disposition to afford by direct determination by means of conveying the knowledge of proceedings as to the procurement by any means of a citizen's property. The eminent domain in question has kept set health and human service safety issues from the public. This probate assessment distribution is based on my ability to understand the laws at the time that they were applied, and that I have proof that if I was qualified to be in the military, that I would have understood all these court proceedings going on in the background to strip the inheritance that was afforded me through the Masonic Temple, along with other issues. Some of the things that were squelched were discoveries of certain types of cancer cures and HIV and certain viral creation scenarios that actually have a warranted effect for cause as a conscious effort to cause the virus to exist, because all virals have a natural occurring cure within them. If there's a virus, there's the cure is within the construction of the virus as it's created or adapts to a host. HIV is one of the only ones, along with a few others, that attach to the human body that don't have that type of process in retraction. And so they're obviously constructed in a laboratory and meant as a genocidal weapon. This is Archangel Michael. Wait for the governments to wake up.